Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Connecting with Jennifer Filzen. Today we have Steve Moore, who is in Dallas, Texas. And I met him through Rocky and John. And you know how it is online. You get to meet up with all these great people and connect. So here we are. Welcome, Steve.
Great. Nice to see you again, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So let's just jump into it. What do you do? Tell us a little bit about who you are and all that, and what makes you special and unique.
Sure. I am from Dallas, Texas. I'm a native Texan. I've been in the Dallas area for about 25 years. I have a family that been married for about the same time. My family, my back history of my family is I was a military kid. So I would say that what makes me special is I'm very adaptable to different things, from moving to changing to adjusting. That's been very helpful as I've changed careers over the years, and also kind of taken on new things. So my business is that I go into, I do total reporting backgrounds. So I do background reporting, background screening, drug testing, those type of things. But it's not my full-time job necessarily all the time. So it's one of those things that I dabble in, but I'm trying to improve as I go forward. So what makes me special, I guess, is that I'm adaptable to change. I have a various different amount of technical skills and business skills that I've used throughout the years, and that I'm very happy about what I'm doing.
Awesome. I love it. You're a multipreneur. You're doing the
Yeah,
steady job and then you're doing the side
that's
gig, right? What is the steady
right.
job?
Steady job is IT. So I also have a job where I'm a consultant for a company on the East Coast. So I do IT consulting.
Oh, that's so cool. You get to blend, you know, one side of you and then the background testing. Do you find that they easily dovetail or are they completely separate entities in your mind?
They kind of do. We were the first franchisers for this company in this background reporting business, and I would say their technology was kind of behind. And so I actually helped them at one point improve their product, their websites, our applications, kind of how they did a few things. And I had that influence because I was the first franchiser for them. So it was their first foray into going outside. And so I added hopefully some value to them, which then went into other franchisers after that. So I like the technical side of life. I have kind of an engineer mindset, I would say. So as I kind of do what you said, multipreneur, I think it is, I also like to be able to say that I'm pretty quick on the technical side related to it also too. So it's good. But
Uh,
I think it has helped. I think technology is an integral part of our life. I don't think you can do business today without it, as we're showing
no.
right now, right? So, yes.
Right? So true. Oh my gosh, if it weren't for technology, we wouldn't be doing this, right?
Right.
Thank you. Thank you to all the generations of engineers
Mhm.
and developers and testers and all the people that put this together, because where would we be, right? I'm kind of
Exactly.
curious though, since you're doing background checks for employers, how has it been with COVID and everyone being at home? Has that really been an issue? Are background checks more important now or less important because of all the working from home?
Yeah, that's a good question. It definitely did slow down over there because people weren't hiring. I mean, hiring went down, business went down in a lot of different companies, a lot of businesses shut. So our business actually was down for last year, but we're seeing it ramp up right now. All right, I went into this business because I was looking for something that I could work from home at, that I didn't have a good office to, that is essential to everybody's business, right? I think if you're a small business owner or even a big business owner, I think that you better have a background check on somebody coming to your door to protect your assets, protect your intellectual property, all those things related to that, as well as drug testing too, right? So in a sense, in 2020 was a little slow for us related to it, but we're seeing a steady rise, especially in roles such as Department of Transportation and trucking, tenant checks. Says the amount of houses that are going up. A lot of people have invested in and be able to be a landlord, either their own personal property or
That's
actually
right.
larger commercial properties. And so we're seeing a pretty steep rise on people who are going to invest in that business who need to do it up there. And surprisingly enough, a lot of them don't. They don't take the time to do it, and it's unfortunate. So anyway, I think we're trying to stay. I'm trying to stay consistent in a business that is more required. I wouldn't say it's the most rock star type of business and exciting necessarily around that, but it is something that I think everybody needs. So that's why I'm in it.
Right, right. And also too, like, boy, the news, here we are, it is April 19th, 2021. over the last week, there have been a lot of mass shootings, one of which was what, an
Mm,
18-year-old former employee at FedEx who went in and shot his coworkers
yes.
during their dinner break. Like that is horrific. Are your background checks able to, give an idea as to how to avoid it's awful that this stuff is happening. So
Yeah.
how can background checks prevent that kind of thing?
Well, we can do a criminal history. So one of the things we say is that we don't expect an employer to be a bit expert in criminal backgrounds or drug testing or reference checks or things like that. That's what you're paying us to do related to it. So we have the resources and staff and expertise to be able to understand those type of trends. The difference, though, is that they have to be actually charged with a crime. So somebody, if they come up there and they're not actually charged with a crime or it's dismissed, it's not going to actually go on their record. And so we do have the ability to look at traits and look at things going to somebody related to that. But ultimately, it's up to the employer to make the decision. I've run background checks where we had people and said this person has a history when they were young. They made some dumb mistakes when they were young, but say that's called it 18 to 25, which a lot of us have done, right? You've done some dumb stuff. Thank God we didn't have iPhones those days, right? But
Right. Oh, I've made some dumb things. Yeah, done dumb stuff. But yeah, you're right.
but then the next
Before
25
everything was
years,
documented with video. Oy.
right, right, exactly, right. So, but then the next 20 years, they were an outstanding employee. But as an adult, that's on their career. So, our job is to be able to provide guidance, to provide the data and information to employers to make the right decision. And I've had several who said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on this person. It's worked out great. Or some of them come back and go, thank you very much. I'm not willing to take the risk. And that's kind of
Right.
where we are. Right, we have the relationships and the context to be able to describe to various different law enforcement sources and drug testing companies and various different other data sources to be able to bring that into one view so that people can make a decision. But ultimately, it's up to the employer to do that. So,
Yeah. Boy,
yes.
so many things, so many things. Like, um, I know a guy who hires people out of prison, and
Hmm.
he says that they are amazing. They are dedicated. They work hard. They have this horrible background that landed them in the penitentiary for many years. But by the
Yeah.
time they're done, and they want to rebuild their lives. So you're right. There are folks who are pretty much upstanding citizens until a point where they make a really bad decision and it
Right.
lands them in a place that they never expected. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now tell me about the people that you serve in your life. You have family, you have your two businesses.
Hmm.
Tell me who you serve and why you do that.
Yeah, so a couple things. I serve with the normal job that I do, 9 to 5, call it, on the weekends, things like that, between the IT job and the background checkpointing business. But I always like to remain involved in volunteer stuff. So I just rolled off as the chairman of the Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce. I've been with that organization for about 4 years. And then, so I've always remained on some sort of committee or leadership group within that over the last 4 years, and then doing the head job and rolling off for last year. I'm still involved in my son's Boy Scout troop. I think we spoke about this before.
Yes, we did. We have Boy Scouts in common.
Yes, that's right. You were a leader, I believe, in Boy Scouts in the
Yep,
past. Good.
sure was. Assistant Scoutmaster. That was super fun. And I worked at Philmont Scout Ranch. That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
yes. Fantastic. My son may go this summer. It got rained out and fired out when they're done. So I think he may go this summer.
Oh,
But
great.
I've always got two or three things that I'm on there, the things that pay the bills, and the other couple I would say that I'm just because I think it's a good cause, right? So it's kind of what my why is that I like to improve things. I would say overall, right? I don't like to go in an organization necessarily and just sit on my hands. I'm one of those people who say we need to get something done. I raise my hand. I say I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to lead it. I'm going to happen it. It's going to make it happen because if I'm going to spend my time doing it, I might as well be actively involved, right? What's the other point?
Right.
Right?
Right. Exactly. So just out of fun, what drew you to scouting and what drew your kids to scouting?
Well, I think the scouting aspect is something that I think I've always enjoyed outdoors and camping and outdoor type of things. My father and I, um, we spent a lot of time as a family, I would say, camping on a deal through tents and trailers and other ones. And I wasn't a Boy Scout, my dad was, and he was in another organization called Adventure Guides, which is
Oh, wow.
It's similar to it. It used to be called Indian Guides, and now it's called Adventure Guides. I think the Indian went away when we got politically correct about things, Adil. But it's similar. You wear a vest instead of a shirt. It has badges on it. You get arrows. You make some of the things. But as a military family, we were never in one place longer than probably 2.5 years to be able to settle down and stay within a Boy Scout troop. So that was kind of the thing that we did for a while until I was probably 14 or so. But I think that the aspect is that we have a very strong Boy Scout troop in our church, which we're a part of. And then so both of my boys got involved in that. In fact, my wife was actually a leader in the pack too. I related to it. So yeah, she got involved in there. And then I never became an official. To be honest, I'm involved in more of the operational side of it on there. I've never been a scout master or a pap master related to it, but I'm the executive officer for our Boy Scout troop, and so it lends to myself to some technology things we needed to do, some operational things we needed to do, some management stuff to. We recently, for the first time in 70 years, the Boy Scout, a lot of Boy Scout troops are connected to churches. And so recently with the Boy Scout challenges, our local church was not able to recharter us in the way we had. So I had to go off and set up a separate corporation for the Boy Scout troop, financial information, bank accounts, taxable benefits, things like that. So that my business head kicked in and said, okay, I'll take this on and do those type of things. So, but I think that's where my forte is. I like the management, the project management type
Yeah,
stuff and everything. So yeah, and
that's
then we
that's
totally believe in the
interesting.
scouts also too. Yeah, I mean, there's that aspect of it that it's all a volunteer organization, and so you have to bring different skill sets into there to be able to run a Boy Scout troop. It's not just we hope it runs well, right? I got to think of there. You have to have different mindset and skill sets to be able to make it run efficiently. And with 70 scouts, I mean, you got to get it done. So yeah.
Wow. So just out of curiosity, gosh, my involvement was like early 1990s. So I was active from like 1989 to 1992. So my
Okay.
information is really old. So
Hmm.
tell me what the 2021 version of the Boy Scouts is. Are they implementing technical training in some of the stuff? Because let's face it, like part of the essence of the Boy Scouts is on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty. But then also too, it was tying knots, it was the outdoorsman, it's the survival skills, it's the tenting, all that. But
Yes.
now we have new focuses, and now of course we're starting to see that even the Girl Scouts are producing classes and badges that are technical in nature and such. So what is the 21st century version of what's going on with the Boy Scouts?
It's a 100+ year organization, and I would say that it's hard to move the ship sometimes about those things. It's one of the first questions I asked too was, our kids are getting iPads at 6th grade, and they're not going to want to go camping all that much, right? And so it's an interesting thing that you're right about the fact they have to change. There's about 137 badges that you can get as a Boy Scout, and believe it or not, there's quite a few kids who have got 137. It's 21 to become an Eagle Scout. 13 are required, 8 are or kind of, we'll call them addendum kind of badges related to that. But they have changed a little bit. There is computer training. There is, I would say, more things that are more real life. Like you can get something in truck driving. You can get something in
Oh,
weld. You can do something. And I like that part, the trade aspect.
that's
That's
cool.
kind of thing that you can do, which is they're encouraging those type of things. But really, the 21, the 13 that you have to get or Eagle required are still pretty much core: camping, cooking, life saving, first aid, swimming, things like that related to those. Those have been around for a very long time. Um, and I think there's some pluses and minuses to that. I think you're right. There are some things that probably need to change, but I also think kids don't get outside as much, right? As much as they used to. And I'm hoping that encourages people and young boys to be able to do those type of things. So um, I think the Boy Scouts have also had to adopt because their membership has dropped a
Right.
lot over the last
Yeah.
probably 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's not really some of their challenges they have today. It's more of scouting is not necessarily seen as cool anymore, right? There's a lot of kids on video games and things like that. So they've had to adapt to that. They've also adapted to letting girls in Boy Scouts also too, right? So that type of thing, which I'm a fan of. So I think
Yeah.
those are some of the things that they're slowly adopting over time, but those sort of things. So yes.
Well, it's fascinating. I remember that we had girls coming through Philmont, but it was
Mm.
usually through the Girl Scouts or explorers. Remember explorers? How they would be more like they'd firefighter explorers, police officer explorers. there were different programs, and it was always co-ed. And I always thought that that was really the future of where things were going, and that was the early
Hmm.
1990s. So I'm
Right.
glad that things opened up, and it's true. It's even I don't know what the current. I never was a Girl Scout. I uh, I think I told you this, and anyone watching, no disrespect to Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts are awesome, but
Hmm.
back in the 1970s, when I was a little girl,
Hmm.
and 1980s, the focus was cooking, sewing, like
Home ec type
not
stuff.
no, I don't want to learn that crap. That is not I want to do the rock climbing. I want to
Right.
do the cool stuff. I don't want to learn how to cook and clean. Thank you very no. Now
Right.
obviously things have evolved there, and let's face it, their cookies are unbeatable, right?
Oh,
Love the
they're fantastic.
cookies, right? Yeah.
Still buy
That's a yeah, everyone loves the cookies. But
them.
yeah, everything has to evolve and shift, and kudos to the organization for finally recognizing it. Here's hoping that it survives, so then that way it can educate another generation. And yeah, it's interesting, right? Churches, especially the Catholic Church, and there's been
Mhm.
some challenges with various churches and youth programs, and kids
Right.
not necessarily feeling safe. So um, it's rather unfortunate, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, now that we're aware of everything, maybe we can fix
Right.
it. Maybe we can make things better, right? It doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. And one thing I always enjoyed about the Boy Scouts in particular, because that was who I hung out with, and I was a
Mm.
scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster for, the integrity, the honesty. It was the soft skills, the team building, all of the different things. Even rock climbing. You establish that trust between the belay, the person
Right.
running your safety, and the people
Yeah.
climbing. Like there's so much trust, and there's so much teamwork putting up tents, teamwork, digging the latrines. I mean,
Right.
I'll never forget it. I loved my troop because they were so cute. They made me my own latrine. It was really
Oh,
cute. And yeah, I'll never forget it too, Steve. It was so adorable. It was like they took like tarps and kind of like took big posts and put them in the ground. Took tarps and like made sure it was private, and then put like in duct tape the female figure, like a
oh,
little female stick
I
figure, and then
did.
there was the guys with the male stick figure. It was like adorable. And this is like early 90s. So it was like really, they were very sweet to me. I didn't need it, but it was
Right.
like, it was adorable that they wanted to show that action. And then they were like, can we set up your tent for you? I'm like, you don't have to, I can do it myself, but if you really want to, okay. And they were just, oh my gosh, I loved the kids. And it was so funny because I'll never forget when I first started, because I was the first female in the state of Florida. I was the first female in the state of Florida to be an assistant scoutmaster in a troop in
Wow.
1989. So I could,
Wow.
that was when the law was repealed. So in 1990, when I'm joining, people were
Hmm.
like, and the mothers were like, who is this chick? Like, what? I'm like,
Right.
don't worry. I'm working on my education degree. I'm going here to Florida State University. I'm a student.
Right.
I'm going to be working with kids anyway. I want to go work at Philmont, and I have to be part of a troop if I'm going to go work at Philmont. So here I am. And the husbands were relieved because they had another body helping watch all these crazy kids,
True. Most
right?
groups are like, we'll take any help you can give us, right? Anybody wants to help, come on.
Oh,
Yeah. So
all
yeah.
those crazy kids. Oh yeah, yeah. What are some of your favorite things about some of the things that you guys do as a family and as a troop with scouting?
I think it is the bonding and the I would say the camaraderie, the character building, the type of things up there, which are the kind of the core to the scouts itself, right? Be truthful, be honest, be praiseworthy, those type of things on there. There's a religious aspect to being in the scouts too, right? But I think it's showing the kids in character, and I think I would say the greatest thing is when you see some kid who's 6 years old going in as a tiger's cub, right? He comes in as a tiger cub, and you go, that kid's not going to make it. There's no way that kid's going to survive. And all of a sudden, the kid becomes 10 years old, 12 years old, and then he's crossing as an Eagle Scout at 16 or 17. And you're like, that is the greatest thing in the world, right? They stuck with it. Their parents stuck with it because kind of like anything else, it's a lot on the parents as you get into Boy Scouts too. Um, I think that's the greatest thing in the world. I have cousins who are Eagle Scouts. I have friends who are Eagle Scouts, and I would say the thing about Scouts and in the business, you probably heard this also. I think it's probably the best networking tool that to be an Eagle Scout that nobody really talks about, right? I don't know how many people I walked in their office and they have their Eagle badge in a box, and they say,
Oh,
I can call Ross Perot. I was at a meeting about 10 years ago, and this guy would walk across and he goes, how's your networking? Things like that. Who are we talking about? Things like that. And I go, that's okay. I was in between jobs. And he goes up there and says, with this badge right here, I can call Ross Perot because Ross Perot is a huge advocate. He's a huge supporter of Boy Scouts. In fact, the Ross Perot family pays for when you get your Eagle badge and sash and all this documentation as well as getting your name at the Boy Scouts of America Museum here.
I didn't know that.
Pays for all of that. He funds that entire thing to be an Eagle Scout. He is, his kids are, things like that. But it's one of these things like you can go in a conversation, a meeting, a cocktail party, anything else, and you just immediately bond on something. And I think it's great. I think it's bigger than a university. I think it's bigger than religion in some senses. I think it's bigger on there. It's that common thing. Because the reality is that only 4% of scouts who actually start become an Eagle Scout. Of all the scouts, 4%.
Really? Only 4%?
4% who ever get into scouts, and only 4% actually make it as an Eagle Scout. It's a
I had
very
no
small
idea.
percentage. And so I
Wow.
think if you got to that deal, and I guess to your question, what excites me is about the fact of saying that, when somebody gets to that level, you see it on their face and those character building things like that with a young man coming up there, I think it builds confidence in him. So yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And also too, you're right. Like the Boy Scouts always had the really cool stuff, like camping and rock climbing, and like let's face it, like that's some cool stuff. Are you
Right.
seeing in your do you have females in your troop yet? Have they joined?
They have not. We had a couple years ago when the Boy Scouts of America started to allow it. We had one petition it. But to have a female in a troop actually requires it's not just allowing the Girl Scouts in. You actually have to have two Girl Scout leaders who are women also. So and then ultimately it's up to the charting organization who actually charters the church. So the Boy Scouts organization has said yes, it's okay. You have to have two women leaders and at least five Girl Scouts to start your own version of it within. So it's
Oh,
from the outside, it looks like it is the common thing, but it actually is. You have to have those leadership come. You have to have two sponsors as leaders, and then also I think it's at least 4 or 5 girls who want to come over. But then also the charter organization has to agree that they're going to do it. And
wow.
so our
So it's
church,
interesting. So it's almost like yeah, we'll do it, but there's some barrier to entry because
yes,
of all
and
the
we have
safety.
I'm a Catholic church too. Our sponsor, our Catholic church also, and so they were open to it at first, but there never was a drive after that to be able to do it. And we have a pretty strong Girl Scout troop also too. So I think it was kind of just a whim a little bit to do it. I mean, I support it, but it was something that I was kind of a whim, and then they found that the Girl Scouts could be able to do it. But you're right, there are girls. I think you become the equivalent to an Eagle is a gold award. When you get an Eagle Scout and deal, it's a gold award, and so Girl Scouts and moms were complaining about the fact that it just doesn't have the same prominence. When you get done, like you don't see it on a resume. You don't see it. It's not revered as much. And this is good or bad. It's not revered as much as an Eagle Scout. And so I
Right.
think the group that was doing like, I want my girl to get the same accomplishment, do all the boy things, right? We're tired of going doing all the stuff that girls normally do. I want to go
Mhm.
camping. I want to go hiking. I want to go fishing. I want to things like that. But it just didn't happen until. But who knows? I mean, it may change, right? So, see.
Yeah, well, and who knows? I mean, I have no idea. I'm not involved in scouting, but this is just such a fun conversation, Steve. Thank you. Because like, if you can, if you can play to everyone's strengths, right? The Girl Scouts have amazing strengths. The
Yes.
Boy Scouts have amazing strengths. And again, this is coming from an outsider who's clearly not in charge of either one. And but in my perfect world, why not blend, you know, if there
Agreed.
could be some coming together, whether it be, you know, let's if we really are going to be scouting, let's just be scouting and not worry
Right.
about boy or girl, because now we have other genders, if you will, like why not include, but then also too, like let's face it, Girl Scouts, those cookies. I mean, come on, the cookies are.
We'll sell.
legendary. And every
We'll sell
time I
beer.
see them for sale, I'm like, yes, please. How many cases can I get? Like it's a wreck on the diet. But yet what the girls learn is sales skills. Like I have
Right.
yet to see Boy Scouts learn the sales skills that the
There's a
Girl
little bit
Scouts
to it.
provide. Yeah.
Yeah, it is huge, right? The Girl Scout cookies are so well known. In the earlier ranks, there's popcorn sales. There's something when you get
Oh,
people to do it in the
I
pack. There's
remember
popcorn,
those.
right?
That's right.
Right. So
Popcorn
when you
sales.
had to go out and do your thing, and now they have camp cards and other things on too. And there's a salesmanship badge actually you can get, and a lot of kids do that, and we encourage that. We encourage our
Oh,
young kids to get out and become salesmen and understand that whole cycle and everything else. But you're right. I completely agree. It should be melded at some point. And I think that's just something that comes with culture and time and
yeah.
generations, right? You still have people who have grown up who were long-term Boy Scouts are out there. I mean, name the organization that just it's a generational thing that will change over time, I think. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Everything's shifting and changing. And honestly, some people are like, "Oh, it's horrible, this new generation." But you know what? The Romans were complaining about how the next generation was wrecking them, and we've come a few millennia since. So I'm not too worried about like generations. Everyone has their opinion, but you're right. Like every generation brings some joy and some wonderful skills and because I'm in marketing, I get to talk about generations all the time. I teach a lot of baby boomers the importance of social media.
Mm.
COVID was the thing that finally got the
Mm.
baby boomers to go, okay, so this is a real thing. Like even as recently as 2019, people are like, yeah, that Facebook thing. Yeah. Now they're like, okay, I'll stop
Yeah.
fighting you on the social media. I'm like, thank you, right? But then, but then it's so funny, again, back in 2018, 2019, people are like, oh, the millennials, oh. You know what? They're a hardworking group, and they're no longer the kids. They're in their 30s, and they're about to turn 40. So, but no, it's just really cool seeing. It's cool seeing how each organization is doing its thing, and we're all having to pivot and dodge. I mean, generations, a lot of people are saying, oh, Gen Z, the young ones. You know what?
Mm.
That's a hardworking group. They're young, but oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they're so smart, and
Yes.
they
Ambitious.
can see through the bullshit too. It's kind of like, okay, they're pretty mature for youngins, right? Because they have this technology and they have all this information at the fingertips, and you
Yeah.
can't, they find out a little earlier that maybe Santa Claus isn't real, right? Like,
That's true. That's
and
true. They Googled it.
like-minded, yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah, exactly. I love them. In fact, today I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's been mentoring a kid, 15 years old, in Bulgaria. Now, this friend of
Mm.
mine is in Florida. The kid's in
Mm.
Bulgaria, and he's mentoring him on doing writing and some business and some
Mm.
marketing. And so he asked me, he's like, Jen, would you be willing to mentor a 15-year-old? Yeah, of course. And
Sure.
he goes, I haven't met the kid yet, but he's like, you won't believe him, Jen. He already talks like he's in his 20s. I'm like, well, that's fantastic. And I really believe truly that the millennials are awesome. Gen
Yeah.
Z is awesome. Here's the truth. All generations are awesome. You just
That's a
have to
good
find
endorsement.
Yeah, you just have to find out where their superpowers are, because everybody's got a superpower, right?
That's
Like,
true.
I believe you're Gen X like me, right? 1970s, 1960s. Yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Hmm.
We were the latchkey kids. We learned how to be independent early on because the parents were
Right.
now starting to work, right? So we
Right.
came home to an empty house. We had to like cook our meal young, and
Yeah.
it's like being alone, whatever. So when COVID happened, right? Being alone, oh, whatever. I'm used to this. Hello.
Exactly. It's that adaptability for change, right? We've seen the world before and after internet. We've seen the before a world with when you had three channels and like hundreds of channels. We've seen cars
Right.
with, you rolled up the windows and not rolled up in the window. I think we're probably one of the most adaptable generations in here who's
Oh,
seen things
without a
change
doubt.
and roll with it, right? So I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. In fact, I'm proud of these gray hairs that are coming. It shows my
Ah,
wisdom, right?
me too. This is cute.
I
Oh my
love it.
God.
I love it.
Mm.
So now, what advice do you have for anybody who's watching us?
I think the advice I have is be open to possibilities, I would say, right? I've been in IT for 25 years. I was 10 years in the restaurant business before this, and I've become more entrepreneurial spirited and mindseted, I'd say, over probably the last 5 to 8 years or so, right? I think you just open to the possibilities, be always learning. I think you probably hear this a lot, right? But always learning and always open to possibilities, and just be open to something that you can do, right? And then the other thing I would say is don't be afraid to take risks. Jump in, right? The only thing what they say it's everything you want. This is a Will Smith quote, which I love, and it's actually in my bathroom wall in here. It says, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear."
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love that thing right there. I knew that. And fear is just a word, right? And done. And everybody has it. Everybody doesn't want to do something on there, but once you do it, then do it again, and you do it again on there, you find out it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just a word, right? And so, getting through that, I think, is good. And I think this generation that you're talking about is going to change the world more than anything, because I don't think they have it. I don't think they have that. They'll try anything. They're used to very fast, quick information. A lot of people they know. They've been all over the world. They travel more. They've seen everything else and so I would say that those are the advice that I would give is just do everything you can in this life. So why not?
Yeah. Oh, this is such great stuff. I love it. Okay, so I'm even going to write it down as you talk. Let's
Okay.
talk about how people can find you.
Okay.
So, if they want to work with you for IT, if they want to work with you for background checks, if they just want to connect with you, how do they find you, Steve?
Well, LinkedIn. So I've got both got it. Profiles on LinkedIn is an easy one to be able to find on it. My website for total reporting is screennorthtexas.totalreporting.com, and I can send it to you in an email if you like also on the but
Screen North Texas. Boy, that's a long one. Screen North Texas.
dot total reporting, all one word, .com.
I love it. Woo! Yeah. Okay. And
It's
what
one of those
else?
things you save, not necessarily remember, right? Once you save the web address, you're right. Yeah,
Right,
so
right, right.
LinkedIn,
Here's the link.
Facebook, social media type stuff and everything else. I've got all that set up and everything else. But yeah, if anybody wants to find me, and part of it is, I like to help people be successful. So if somebody wants some advice on something and a thing I'm used to, or I can connect to somebody, I think I've got 8,000 contacts on LinkedIn of some kind. So I'm happy to connect to people and help also too. So it's not necessarily all about business. Sometimes it's about relationships, right? So I'll do that too.
So true. That is why I started connecting with Jennifer Filzen. It was born out of COVID. We can't connect with each other in person, but I've gotten to meet so many people around the country and
Yes.
even around the world. I'm going to be talking with Dubai later this
Oh
week.
my gosh.
Yeah. So like
Looking to go visit from somewhere too.
it's
Yeah.
it's exciting to just connect with people and just, have a heart to heart. And we're not even doing with alcohol. Although that's optional if you want to, but for
I gotta
me,
slow
I
down on
got to
that.
stick to water. I got to stick to the water. I'm such a lightweight. Well,
Well, nice
truly
talking to you.
nice
Great.
talking with you and everybody who's watching. Thank you so much for joining me and Steve Moore. I hope you do seek him out on LinkedIn, screennorthtexas.totalreporting.com. We'll put his information in here in the notes. But oh gosh, I'm getting all caught up in my thing. But anyway, truly, everyone, thank you for connecting with Jennifer Filzen. I hope this was fun. And Steve, you have a marvelous rest of your evening. Okay. All
Jennifer, thanks so
righty.
much. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.